Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights. All right, we are back for another session. That's right. It's Good Vibes time. I'm Martin Falls. Debbie Cox DeNova is in the house. She is right there. Debbie, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
All right, so good topic today. Releasing stress. Everybody just broke out their notebooks because everybody wants to know how to do this.
Yeah.
And not everybody owns a Bobcat like me.
Right.
So this is going to be interesting. So I can't wait to hear what you got to say on this.
Yeah. So, chronic stress is a really big problem, especially in the modern age, because we do a lot of sitting in our modern age. So we're doing a lot of like computer work and driving. And we've talked about this before. The body is designed when there is a stress response to actually release the neurochemicals that are associated with that. So cortisol, epinephrine, tachykinin. You want to be able to release those from your system so you can move forward. And if you see animals in the wild, they do that quite naturally. We would do that quite naturally if we were not in our modern sort of rut. So what happens is that not only do we have the stresses from, let's say, our workday, right? You're at a computer, you're on the phone, lots of stresses are building up, but you're not moving your body enough to sort of release those stress chemicals. And the problem is that even though we're very sophisticated as humans these days, we still operate from a very primal place. So way back when, if there was a stress and it was chronic, right, the thing that would be prioritized in the brain is there must be a risk to our survival, and starvation may be at hand. So a lot of people are eating the right things, they're exercising, and for some reason they can't get rid of that belly fat, right? We've talked about this before. So there's that visceral fat around the middle section, which is actually much more dangerous to the health. And when it's disproportionate like that, what's happening is chronic stress, because the body basically goes, oh, there's stress and it's ongoing stress. There must be a risk just to our survival. We might starve. And so it starts to store fat right around those vital organs to keep you safe and to help you survive.
Can I show you how much I've been listening to you over the years?
Sure.
Cortisol.
Yes. Cortisol, exactly.
Just thought I'd throw that out.
Absolutely. So you have cortisol, you have this, epinephrine, and you're creating this issue for yourself long term. So it's really important to know, to kind of step back from your life enough to know, okay, for a lot of people, unfortunately, the thing that makes you most successful, the thing that you enjoy the most, is often the source of your greatest stress, right? So a lot of people are like, well, I really love what I do, and I actually am really happy with the results that I'm producing, but I am so stressed out, right? So it's important to recognize, again, and to say to yourself, like, okay, I am still in a primal body, and I need to actually go back to what a long time ago, in the very beginning, back in the cave, human beings, we couldn't afford the resources to do anything other than what was going to support our survival. What that means is that if we go back to ancient times and we study what they were doing in the cave, they were still incorporating things like chanting and singing, dancing. They were still walking barefooted and climbing trees. And so we need to know that this isn't just something that we do because we now have some off time. This is actually essential for our well-being and our survival as people. So if we can return to that, there's some really incredible science now tapping into the ancient wisdom of before and recognizing that there are some really powerful tools that we can bring into our modern life, and to remember that we are going to be more effective at our job. I hear a lot of people saying, well, I just don't have the time. It's kind of a waste of time, just kind of sit there and meditate and go for a walk outside. I have all these things. Well, here's the thing, is that you are going to have a cost to your health. And so it's better for you to actually invest right now in the practices that are going to take care of the basic biosuit that you're operating in, right? So that you can go long term and the quality of what you produce is better. Because as we know, when you're in a chronic state of stress, you've got cortisol going, right? All those hormones, it's kind of on a seesaw with the attraction hormones like oxytocin, serotonin, right? So if you think about like, okay, if my cortisol is up, I'm in amygdala hijack. And what happens actually is that your brain actually taps both the amygdala, which is the seat of emotion, and also the hippocampus, which is the seat of memories. So if you ever really mess up at work or mess up with anything and you recognize all of a sudden you're remembering all the other times that you messed up, your brain is doing that to help you to survive. It's trying to protect you from, it's like, look, you have a history here. Let's do something different going forward. But the problem is that when you're in that amygdala hijack, now your creative centers, your rational thinking, your reasoning mind is offline. So if you're running a business, or if you're running a family, or you're doing something that requires your best self to show up for it, you need to understand that if you're in a chronic state of stress, you go into what Dr. Tara Swart calls low power mode. So moms who I talk to who say that they are in zombie mode, they just feel like they're going through the motions of the day. I also talk to executives that are having the same experience. I'm doing what I need to survive in this situation, but I know there's something off, right? So it's kind of like a thing. And that happens because, again, the primary resources are, it's actually like, okay, there's stress going on right here. So when you're in a state of stress and survival, your brain's not going to prioritize creativity. It's not going to prioritize living.
It's surviving.
It's surviving, exactly.
And I'm sitting here still thinking about the cavemen dancing to Casey and the Sunshine Band. And relationships have a lot of stress too, so that's why they write songs like "I fooled around and fell in love."
Yeah.
Which has a double meaning. I really want to fall in love, but hell, now I'm in love.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, we'll talk about all that. We're going to take a little short break. We'll be right back. Releasing stress. That's why I come on the news desk every day. This is my release. And the Bobcat.
And the Bobcat.
All right. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodeau, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
All right, welcome back. We're talking with Debbie Cox DeNova on Good Vibes. It is about releasing stress, and I'm going to give you a little more false secret away. When I go to bed and I'm getting ready to go to sleep, I always put it on the rain falling on the alpha waves, and God, it just brings you into a deep sleep. So there's a lot to relax in your brain. And I guess that can be in any situation.
I love that you brought that up, because one of the things that Dr. Tara talks about is that we are now electronically bringing ourselves the experiences of nature that we kind of forgot a little bit, with our modern society, how important nature is to us. And so the sounds of the water,
melodious sound.
the melodious sounds, right? And there's a whole field of research, a new field of research called neuroaesthetics, which is all about sort of the, not only the creation process, but also the observance of really beautiful things. And we on the planet for as long as we know, we've been surrounded by nature. So for most people, unless there's a negative association to allergies or something, nature actually does provide a very calming state, awe. And so exposing ourselves to nature is really important, not only from a perspective of observing it. And so it's raising all these good hormones. It's actually making you feel calm in its state, but there's actual physical things that are happening. For example, there is trees. For a long time, we kind of like hippies do tree hugging and stuff. Well, as it turns out, trees in general, but especially cypresses, cedars, pine, actually release a compound called photonicides. And these are compounds that will actually trigger the release of killer cells within our cells and actually boost our immune system. So you being exposed to nature, to trees specifically, and they have that forest bathing in Japan, they call it forest bathing, right?
I got 100 cypress trees around my house.
I mean, you just go hug one is all I'm trying to say. You need to go
That's
hug.
poison ivy vines on it.
Don't do it then. But you exposing yourself to those trees on a regular basis, actually, it can increase your lifespan and improve your well-being. So climbing trees, the things that kids could do quite naturally, this is not just for fun. This is actually supports your immune system. Birds, we find that the sound of birds is super melodious. It drops our blood pressure, our heart rate. It creates a sense of calm. Why? Because now the research is showing that when birds are singing, birds don't sing if there are predators around. So when birds are singing, it's a signal to our nervous system that we're safe. There are no predators around. So we love the sound of the birds. There's all sorts of research on, negative ions. Of course, we have the vitamin D synthesis from the sun. And a lot of us are just simply not getting into nature. And so I talk to a lot of people who they just don't know what's going on. It's like, you know what, I don't know why I don't feel good in my body. I feel depression, I feel anxiety, right? And so they were talking to their doctor about medication, which is something that I would never interfere with. But I also asked them, have you taken care of the bare essentials? Because we are human beings, all of us across the planet, no matter what, no matter how high-powered, sophisticated, intelligent you are, you're going to need some basics. You're going to need to make sure that you are exposed to fresh air and clean water and good food that is actually recognizable to the body as food. You're going to need human contact. So there's studies that show that elderly people who have a strong community, and we've talked about this with the Blue Zones conversation, they actually live longer and they have less incidence of dementia because that connection is really important to us. It is actually really soothing and it's medicine for us, right? So there are all these things, but essentially what Dr. Tara says is you want to connect your mind to your body. You want to be able to do something. You can do journaling. You can do the gratitude process because remember, when you're in gratitude, your oxytocin goes up, which brings your cortisol down. It's on that seesaw. You can do yoga, you can do meditation, but essentially what you want to be doing is making sure that you are using your brain to check in with yourself and go, how do I feel? What is my body communicating to myself so that I can manage it? Okay. She says there's something called ghosts in the executive suite. And this is the impressions that we get from, around up to the age of 7 to 14. And this is our family systems. What did our families say? What are the secrets that our families had? What are the values that our families had? What role did you play in your family? Were you the gatekeeper? Were you the messenger, right? What did people in your family system tell you that you were and what you were capable of doing? Did they say things to you like, don't show off, like, you're too loud? And so these things sort of get pushed into the shadow. And the shadow is really just all the stuff that we rejected about ourselves, because as children, we need our parents to survive on the planet. So anything that's not acceptable to them, we push into the shadow. So we talk about shadow work. It's about bringing those parts up and really examining what's working, because a lot of it is working. And what is actually holding me back and what doesn't feel good anymore. It's not beneficial to me.
My mom was good at letting us have the shadow.
What do you mean?
In other words, so if I was singing, I was doing something, she'd make me do it at the reunion. She'd make you stand on a chair and sing Raindrops Keep Falling on Your Head instead of going, you're too loud. She's going like, okay, you want to sing? We got a reunion coming up.
I love it.
No, please, Mama.
But then you do it and your nervous system realizes that you survived that. That's really good.
The other thing you were mentioning, people who got attacked by bears that talk say it got real quiet before. The birds quit chirping.
Yeah.
And the ones who believe in Bigfoot, they say it always gets quiet before they see it. So they all stop singing.
That's right. And instinctively, you kind of get this feeling of like, what's happening, right?
It's really quiet.
Because you're primarily wired to actually pay attention to cues like that from nature. So if you're divided from nature, it's a little harder to read those signals. But we really do need to remember that our modern world is setting us up for chronic stress. There's research that shows that people who had no connection to New York, nobody who died in the Twin Towers, but who watched video of the Twin Towers falling over and over again, gave themselves PTSD. Because visually, we're designed to take things in and actually respond to them. So whether positively or negatively. So just be aware of what you are running on a regular basis, what you're putting in your mouth, what you're exposing yourself to audibly, visually, so that you can actually manage your stress.
That's why last night I didn't watch Kamala and I didn't watch Donald.
Same.
I watched something else. I said, I can't watch anymore. That's it. All right.
Yeah, we don't
Good
want to
job.
embed the wrong things.
Releasing stress. Can't wait for the next one.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Releasing stress. You know what to do now. We'll see you next week. Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality.